Welcome to Byte-Sized Agency Briefs, a webinar series that packs a ton of important agency information on one topic from one expert into a 25-minute brief. Why 25 minutes? Because who has the attention span for much more these days? And you can squeeze in a listen between meetings with time for a bathroom break or coffee refill before your next meeting.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is Byte-Sized Agency Briefs. I'm your host, Steve Guberman from Agency Outsite, where I coach agency owners to build the agency of their dreams. You are tuning back in for the first ever two-part series, and I'm again talking with Sherri and Reuben Johnson from Fly Media Productions. We're going to jump right back into where we left off.
I think there's a lot of agencies that will, like I said, embrace a niche because they see the spot for the marketplace, and this is something you're so passionate about to the point that you've got all these other side projects that support and embrace the overall, science behind what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that you see that too. I mean, the industry itself is already, there's professional organizations for industry professionals that we're part of who, specific to the pleasure industry. So within some of those
Sure.
orgs, they've talked about some of the new businesses that have cropped up where it's obvious. They're just looking at the data and all the figures around, market cap for whatever, XYZ thing. And so they're making this new thing, but you can tell they're not in it for anything other than potential windfall of cash that they think is there. And the thing I really respect about this specific industry is that the people that are in it, by and large, are in it because it means something to them on the personal side. So most of the people who are making the toys nowadays, who are making the videos, who are the educators, who are making other products, they're doing it for deeply personal reasons. And they, by and large, want to work with other business entities that are doing it for reasons that are also equally important to them. So like you've got folks who are making toys because, like one of our friends in the industry, he started a company with a partner because he's disabled and he doesn't have full use and full dexterity of his limbs. So he needed to make, they work together to create a toy for other disabled folks who don't have full use of their limbs and dexterity because it was a deeply personal problem. Now,
yeah,
who's going to do that other than people who have a deeply passionate personal reason for being involved? And that's why, like, when you meet all the people we're meeting and building the connections and relationships, you see like this commonality of it matters. So when folks jump into the industry who it doesn't matters, they might have a bunch of VC backing. The industry's kind of look at them like, yeah, I'm not certain about that. Like, and I really respect that. I appreciate that is like, so that's part of why, when we do our show and when we do our other projects, we just try to be very upfront about this is why we're doing it. It actually means something to us personally. And we want to leave, we want to have the business impact, obviously. That's how you keep the doors open. But we want to have this personal impact over here. That's precisely why we got involved with the organization called the Porn Conversation. They're an international body that is basically about helping to change the narrative around sexuality, porn, and all of that. So it's about science-backed sex ed for youngsters, but also for adults, because like if you were raised like in our generation and in generations previous, sex ed may have been only abstinence-based, or it may have been, literally the birds and the bees. Yep. Don't ask me any more questions. I'm uncomfortable now. You know what I mean? It's like, Well, that's not how you teach somebody something. Like one of the analogies I love is when you're going to drive a car, you actually get an education. You go to driver's ed, they give you books, they show you training manuals, you understand safety. So when you get behind the car and you do your driver's test and then you're given your license, you can drive in a safe way. You're not going to hurt other people on the road, or your chances of hurting other people are significantly reduced. So that's why being part of this organization was important for us, because we can have a part in spreading a message of education and awareness and literacy around the topic, because there's so much out there, but so many of us were never really given the tools to be able to evaluate the information from like a different perspective, and a perspective of awareness and understanding. Well, there's a difference between reality and fantasy, entertainment and reality. You have film literacy with regular Hollywood movies. You have literacy around porn as well is really important. So that's why for us this has been a great opportunity. It's being able to do something that we weren't able to benefit from when we were young people, especially when we were first married. I cringe to think about how little I knew. I was so uncomfortable. I was afraid to talk to my doctor about it. Like, the commercials say, go talk to your doctor about this, and some new drug. And I'm like, well, I went to talk to my doctor and I couldn't even use, I was cringing trying to say words like penis and vagina. I was so uncomfortable. My doctor's like, yo, like, I can't help you if you can't say the words. Like, you got to just get it out. You just got to say it. What are you trying to say to me? And I'm like, I don't want other people to feel like that. We should be able to like have a minimal, I just forgot what I was going to say. Conversation, where folks can just talk about things and use grown-up language and understand our own anatomy and how things work. I think it's really, really important. And there's a lot of benefits from that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Now, when you do like a Google search or whatever, if you search a problem, you're gonna get almost always gonna get two answers. One is gonna be like the Psychology Today answer, and then the other is gonna be everybody sharing their opinions on why something that you're into is wrong and bad, and you're this awful person. And there's just so much in between that we need to hear and learn. You know what I mean? That was my experience when I was trying to like figure out how I felt about things once I had the rules of what was okay and what wasn't. When I was trying to figure out for myself what was okay and what was not, like just doing a Google search was overwhelming as hell. It made me feel like a terrible person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're either getting a Wikipedia page or you're getting somebody's opinion, which kind of debunks what you're looking for.
Yes.
And so, do your side projects? Do they support your agency, or are they just kind of also because? I think it's more the latter, but I'll let you tell me. Do they support the agency, or is it more because we want to immerse ourselves in as much as we can to make as big of an impact as we can, and maybe it'll also support the agency?
Yeah, I mean, they exist independently of the agency for their own, because they're valuable on their own. At some point, we are working to make it so that they can benefit one another. Because it would always be great if it benefits the agency more. But at the end of the day, if the agency disappeared tomorrow, I would want those projects to stay in existence, and we would keep pouring our heart and our resources into keeping them going and keeping them fresh with content and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because the potential impact that they can have is just so massive, and you're just so passionate about it.
Yes, absolutely.
So you mentioned something before, and there's stuff you've told me about also. You run the agency. You both have had maybe both of you CGD, and is it both of you?
So I have CGD, chronic granulomatous disease, and Sherri has CFS, which is it's MECF.
It's a lot of letters.
Just CFS, just chronic fatigue syndrome. Now it's under a new name with ME/CFS, because chronic fatigue syndrome just does not cover what it actually is. It's a terrible name for a horrible thing.
So there's essentially hers is an autoimmune disease and mine is a congenital immune dysfunction. So there's similarities between them, and then there's differences. I was essentially born with a defective immune system where my immune system won't activate properly. So it doesn't fight off. It may recognize infection, but it can't do anything to stop it. So it just kind of sits there, lets it walk in the door, ravage and do horrible things. And then all the medications I take, they actually deal with the resulting infections and that kind of stuff. That's it at like the simplest level.
Yeah, mine is the opposite. It's in overdrive.
Yeah. So I wish her immune system's doing everything mine isn't. It's just doing it times 100 and on the steroids.
Wow. Okay. So talk about what it's like running an agency. I mean, there's so many layers here. So you're running an agency as a husband and wife team, which in and of itself has some challenges slash great benefits. But
Hmm.
you also are both operating with these autoimmune I can't even say it, autoimmune diseases. I mean, what's that like?
That's
It's hard.
challenging. Yeah. And I think it's what we've tried to do. And this is what we're doing right now. What we've been working on this year is finding ways to make it fit, regardless of some of the inconsistencies it may create in our routine. So if
Okay.
I can get sick unexpectedly, but what we've done a lot of work to do is structure the agency in a way so that my health challenges don't influence the productivity of the agency. And then we're doing the same to benefit for Sherri as well, so that like the agency can operate and still do what it needs to do, regardless of where we are, whether we're feeling, a 10 at a best or a 1 at the worst. It's taken
Hmm.
some time to get there, but we've done a lot of tweaks, excuse me, to get it to that point. And that was part of also why we lopped off some of the services that made that challenging. So getting rid of development and tech as an internal thing and instead having partners who are interested in working with pleasure clients made it so that I'm not a bottleneck. Because before I was
Right.
doing all the technology stuff, and I was doing all the dev, and I would bring in a team to help me where I needed help. But if I'm becoming a bottleneck, that becomes a problem. So by just having collaborative partners, being transparency with the clientele about that, I'm no longer a bottleneck. They can work directly with the tech team. We work with them to make sure that it facilitates so that the end result is as promised and it can deliver the ROI as discussed in the SOW. But it doesn't require our direct involvement in order to get the deliverable. So I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but that's part of. I mean, because it is a real challenge, and it has been. So
Yeah.
whenever we try really hard to be adaptable. So like when we're presented with a challenge and we realize something might become a recurring issue, we start then and there to begin developing strategy to deal with that. So it may take a little while to be able to actually implement on the strategy, but that's always a thing. We're looking at things, okay, we're seeing this repeating problem. Now let's figure out how do we address that and how do we move forward in a way so that that problem no longer becomes a problem.
It also
Um,
goes back to what we were talking about with working from home. That was super important to us. That's why we started our business in the first place, was because his illness had gotten to the point where it was really hard for him to work at all, and I was a new mom, so we wanted something that we could do from home, and that's kind of how we've been doing it the whole time, and it's still true for us because we need that flexibility that, like, if we had a really bad night, we sleep till noon, we can still get in a full day's work, and it doesn't have
Yep.
a massive impact of if we had to go into an office. It would just create so much more difficulty for us.
yeah, I mean, we can work at 3 a.m. Without having to like get dressed and drive to the actual physical office, and it has no bearing on the work that we produce. And that's one of the things I really love
Flexibility.
about what we're doing. Yeah, it changes everything.
That's amazing. I mean, you guys have worked to find solutions for what otherwise would be, showstoppers, challenges that would have stopped other people in their tracks. And you've been able to kind of embrace it and say, hey, we can work through this and find solutions and implement them and still be super successful and chase our passions. And I think I admire the hell out of that, because I think a lot of people just say, well, I'm going to throw my hands up and take disability or, whatever. So I really admire the heck out of that. What is an audiobook, and it could be professional or personal or whatever, an audiobook or a podcast or a show that you guys just can't get enough of right now?
Oh, okay. Can we give more than one? Because that's my first response.
Go for it.
I've been into the Netflix reality shows, like all of them. Love Island.
All of them.
Oh, the Circle is my absolute favorite, and Perfect Match. I've been just getting into that a lot lately, and it's funny because I haven't watched reality shows in years, but Netflix has been doing a good job. They're very diverse, not a lot of catty, so like I'm digging them.
Yeah, and
Dig it.
I will say I just got invited to read the book it's not out yet by an author named Zachary Zane. It is give me one second.
Boy Slut.
Yes, Boy Slut. It is really intriguing. I really appreciate it. I guess you would just get it at when it comes out, I guess you would get it at any bookstore. But it's essentially his journey through his own sexuality, like from being a little kid all the way up to like he's a renowned author and sex educator, and he made a massive transition from he worked in the medical field in Mass General Hospital, and then he switched over to being a sex writer. So he wrote for columns in a bunch of big mainstream magazines, and then websites and stuff. And he describes what motivated that transformation and what his life was like. And I'm like, I am very intrigued by it. I'm a little over halfway through it, and I'm really digging it. It's wild too because I spent some time in Mass General Hospital, so like the fact that he worked there for a minute and all of that isn't lost on me. I appreciate it. And as far as shows, it's not. I mean, this isn't related to sex or work or whatever. But I just finished the show. I think it's a Korean show. It is Kill Boksoon. It's like martial arts and a story, but it's very short though. It's only like 8 episodes or something like that, but it's really, really cool. And I dig martial arts shows, and I really am digging a lot of like the Korean like episodic stuff. So that one, and then the House Husband one, which is animation rather, and it's I'm not sure. Yeah, that one's really funny. I'm in like, I don't know. I'm in the first season toward the end, but they're both on Netflix. I'm big fans of those.
Sorry.
I don't know.
Awesome.
I love media. I love TV and movies and all of that. So I could keep going on and telling you a million things, but I'll stop.
We'll keep the list in suspense and let people think. Go with these. What about again, personally or professionally? What's a tool that you've recently kind of rolled into your life that you find indispensable these days? Digital, physical, whatever.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. We've been rolling a lot of
ChatGPT.
AI into what we're doing, making it work for like we're not having it create original content for us.
It's just a partner. It's so helpful as a partner to bounce ideas off of, and that's why I like it the most. It's super helpful for me with like my brain fog and finding the right words for things. So I'll put it in and be like, what's a better word for this in this sentence than this one word? And it will come. That's where I use it like so much for just coming up with better ideas, better words for things, like trying to find words that I know but can't find in my brain at the moment.
Yeah,
that's been amazing.
Because we use Grammarly a lot. We use the thesaurus, but now it's like ChatGPT is a thesaurus. It is a dictionary.
Yeah.
It does understand some of that. So it's removed some of the other steps in content creation, which has been really cool. And then we've got some other AI tools we're exploring that we're going to start trying to roll out content in them shortly. Other tools, let me see. OBS Studio, we use that all the time for like, what do you call it? What is the word? Recording video.
That's a cool one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of some cool tools.
Nah, if that's where you're at and that's the one that's occupying so much of your time, I love it. And then typically I'll ask, what's an invaluable piece of business advice that you can impart on other agency owners? For you guys, I'll twist it up a little bit and say, what's a vital piece of business advice from the perspective of a married couple running an agency?
Oh wow!
For other married couples or for everyone?
Yeah, you're not unique. There's so many agency owners out there. I'm friends with a couple. I went to high school with the husband, and they've been running the agency in South Jersey for 20-something years. So, I think there's a unique perspective that you have, that you found so many ways to make it successful. What's something that's super valuable that you can share?
I would say try to make sure that you try to fit the business around the relationship versus the relationship around the business.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I know that's easier said than done.
I think.
Go
ahead.
No, you go.
No, I was gonna go with something different. So go ahead.
But that's one of the ones I think, as like specifically for in working with your significant other, that's one that, because it comes in so many forms where it's like you've got to make a choice, or like for instance, if like, okay, I'm trying to think. So for example, if it's a choice between, do I go to this event for business, or there's something going on with the relationship or health wise, how do you make that choice? Well, by kind of like saying our relationship and us as humans are always the priority, that can be your deciding factor. And especially if you feel guilt over the decision, you can say, hey, that's our deciding factor. We put the humans before we put the business.
Love that. Sherri, what was the one you were going to say?
Mine was just the one that I probably always tell people, is just to make sure that you have clear roles and you know your roles and responsibilities, and then respect that.
Yeah, stay in your lane.
Yeah, stay in your lane.
I had to do the most work with that. I had to do the most work, to be honest, with learning to stay in my lane.
We both did at different periods of time. So that's why I think it's super important, because it did cause a lot of like frustration and tension when we first started our business. We were younger, so we didn't really know better, and we never ran a business before. So, but once we learned it and we put it in place, it changed everything, and our business grew faster because we weren't constantly stepping on the toes of the person who's supposed to be leading the one thing, because you want to have your voice and you want your opinion. You can have your voice and your opinion, but somebody has to be the one to make the final decisions and to take the lead.
Can I add another like kind of bonus cursory thing? Keep it light and fun too.
Bonus material, go for it.
Find ways to enjoy it and keep it fun with each other. Like, yeah, it's business and it's, how you make your living, but don't miss the opportunities to have fun with each other and just enjoy the business process. Because I think you'll enjoy the business more thoroughly that way if you find ways to have fun with it. And I say that having come from when we used to do commercial property. I just have to relate this story. So when I talked to the former person we used to work with, and we were talking about how back, this is going back more than 20 years ago. We used to do the snow removal and all of that, or about 20 years ago. I don't know. It's going back a ways. And like, I was really bad about not having fun at work. I was very old school in that work is work. You don't mess around, you don't play, you don't stop to talk, you work. So, we do long hours, and it's very manual labor. So if you're doing like 8 hours, 10 hours, 12, 18 hours, it's like the entire time you're working, hustling. And then I look back and I'm like, God damn, I was horrible. Like, I missed opportunities to have fun with that.
Dancing and shuffling, singing and having fun, and be like,
I was
people are watching us.
Yeah. And like, we could have just been having fun. We could have brought a speaker and just been like, turn up the music and gotten, productivity would have probably skyrocketed had I had more of a relaxed mentality. That's the old me. The new me is much more relaxed. I understand how to get the work done and enjoy myself and make
lessons
the team
learned.
happy.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you guys for joining me, for being so candid about the work that you're doing, the goals that you have, the impact that you want to make and that you are making. So thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining me.
You're
very welcome.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, this was really nice. Thank you so much.
Thanks again for tuning in to Byte-Sized Agency Briefs. As always, if you found value in this episode, chances are someone else will too, so please share it with your network. Also, if you know someone with expert knowledge on a topic that agency owners would love, drop me a note. Let's get them on. Finally, find someone to hug today.